Well, I think vision it comes in stages, right? I think that life is a long time, and so I always have a hard time thinking through like what is the next 100 years or 50 years or whatever it is look like for me. So I try to think through like what are the next couple years, what do the next few months look like, and so I think as people evolve and change over time, that what your vision looks like currently where you are may be different than where you're going to be in 5 or 10 years from now, and where it was 5 or 10 years ago. So my vision has certainly evolved and changed over time, and I'm sure that's something we're going to get into today.
Awesome. You want to hear more? Stick around. Our guest today is none other than Grant Baldwin. Thank you for joining us, Grant.
You bet, Brian. Thanks for letting me be here, man.
This is awesome. So cool to have you on. So tell me a little bit about. I'm gonna go away for a little bit while you go into this, but tell me a little bit about your story. I've read your information online and been able to go through some of your videos, but tell the listeners on here today a little bit about your story, if you would.
Yeah, if we go back in time, in high school, I was really involved in my local church. My youth pastor had a really big impact in my life. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, that seems cool, being like a professional teenager or something. And so that was kind of the path I was on. I went to Bible college, was a youth pastor at a different church for a little while. And then in college, in fact, I worked for a guy who was a full-time speaker. And I kind of got to see a little bit behind the scenes of helping him with logistics and travel and contracts, helping him book gigs, that sort of thing. And I was someone who I'd always been intrigued by speaking. Speaking was one of those things that I enjoyed doing. I felt like I was okay at it. I wanted to do more of it. And so as a youth pastor, then it gave me a lot of opportunities to speak. I felt like I got better at it. I got good feedback and really just wanted to pursue that career. And so when I left the role as a youth pastor, then I started really kind of like stalking other speakers and just trying to figure out like, hey, how do you turn this into a business? Is this thing? Is this something that people actually do? And so I started just kind of asking around and learning about the business, and eventually started booking my own gigs. And over the years got to a point where I was doing 30, 40, 50, 60. And then finally, my busiest years, I was doing 60 to 70 gigs a year. And it was great. I loved it. It was a blast. And I started having a bunch of people who were asking me like, hey, how do I become a speaker? And so we started doing a little bit of teaching and training around that. And fast forward to today, that's the core of what we do is we run a training company called the Speaker Lab, where we teach people how to find and book paid speaking engagements. So there's certainly going to be people who are watching or listening who want to be full-time speakers and want to do, 50 to 75 to 100 gigs a year. And there's some that are like, that sounds crazy. There's no way I want to do that. But I enjoy speaking. I wouldn't mind doing a couple of gigs here and there, but I just don't know what I don't know. I don't know how do you find gigs? How much do you charge? Who hires speakers? What do you speak about? Just kind of the ins and outs of the speaking industry. And so that's the core of what we do today.
Wow, that is awesome. Sounds like you have your hands full.
It's fun. There's no shortage of people who are interested in the speaking industry. We try to create a resource and a company with a lot of training materials and training resources for people who are, a lot of times I think of it like where I was when I got started. What are the things I wish I had, the tools, the training, the resources? There wasn't that much back then. And so I think about like one thing we use, the line we use a lot is I felt like I had the potential, but I needed the plan. I had the potential, but I needed the plan. Meaning I felt like I was a decent speaker. Again, not the world's best, not the world's worst. Felt like there was something there. I could get better at it, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how do you actually find and book gigs. And so we try to create a lot of resources for people out there at all different stages of their speaking journey and career to walk through how do you get booked and paid to speak and share your message with the world.
So you not only help them with getting the bookings, but also you help them with their speech as well.
Yeah, well, I would be to clarify on that. Like, we don't actually get the bookings for you. So we're not a bureau, we're not an agency or anything like that. So I always tell people like we would rather teach you how to fish than catch fish for you. So. Right. I think for a lot of people, that's kind of a default thing is you're looking for, if you're interested in speaking, you're looking for a bureau, you're looking for an agency, you're looking for someone else to do something for you. And the reality is if you can't get booked yourself, there's no way that a bureau or an agency is going to be interested in you. So we want to teach you through how exactly you need to go about finding and booking gigs. Now, you may work with someone on your team or someone who helps you with that, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to be the one that's responsible for implementing and executing the process. So an analogy here would be, if you wanted to lose weight, if you want to lose 10 pounds and you're working with a health coach, for example, like the health coach can tell you exactly what to do and show you and encourage you and provide accountability and support and all those things. But ultimately it comes down to you actually doing the work. An accountability or a health coach cannot lose the weight for you. They cannot do the exercise for you. They cannot implement the discipline for you. You have to do that. So we show you what to do. We tell you what to do. We walk alongside you and coach you and support you. But ultimately it's up to you to do the work.
So, you've got a lot going on, and I know you're a big family man as well. So let's take a different turn on this. So tell me about your family. As much as you care to say to the world, it's up to you.
I love talking about my family. So I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We started dating when I was a freshman in high school. She was a junior, so I married an older woman there. Got my own cougar. So we've been together for almost 24 years now.
Wow.
She's amazing. And we got 3 daughters. So it's me and a house full of women. It's the best. And so we absolutely love life. I love being a speaker. I love being an entrepreneur, but being a husband, being a dad, that's the best and most important responsibilities I have.
How old are your kids?
They're 14, 12, and 10.
Awesome. Very cool. So there's a lot going on, but I wonder, I know there's obstacles that you have in your world. I know not everything is peaches and cream. So I'm wondering, what are the obstacles that you're still working on?
Like within the business, I think a big thing has been, the past 8-9 months or so with the pandemic and how that certainly impacted the world, definitely the speaking industry. And so thinking through shifts and pivots and how that's going to affect the speaking industry going forward, what that looks like, how we can make sure we're on the cutting edge of that and providing the best possible training, guidance, and resources to speakers who are going, crap, what just happened? And how do I deal with this? How do I pivot and adjust? And so making sure that we're on top of things and providing, the support that speakers need right now, for speakers, for event planners, and the speaking industry at large. So, it's a big thing we think about and try to make sure that we're providing the best possible help we can.
Okay. Well, that's a great answer. I appreciate that. So for the listeners that are on the call today, please put in, if you're listening live, put in #live. If you're listening on replay, put in #replay. And as always, put a picture of yourself, a selfie, if you will, of you winking without Wagner. And in that picture, I want you to understand how important it is to understand what makes you unique. So Grant here he's unique as well, but we all are unique in our own certain way. We need to find what makes us unique and use it to make someone else's life better. Now, my uniqueness comes not from my eye, but from my positive personality. So I want you to understand what makes you unique as well. So put it in there. that picture, but also put in a hashtag Wiki with Wagner and a hashtag Brian with one eye. That's kind of funny. But then also tag me on it. I would appreciate that. So, Grant, tell us a little bit more. Let me tell you. Let me ask you about the biggest factor in your success.
I think one of the biggest things that we've done has been really, really focused on one core thing, which is helping speakers. And so it's easy for entrepreneurs just in general to get distracted by shiny objects or other things that they could be doing. And so if I look at our business as a whole, how we teach, who we work with as far as speakers, but then also what we teach and how we go about teaching that, there's a lot of other things that we could be doing. Like we were talking right before we went live here. And I said, we don't really, I personally, and we collectively as a company, we don't do a ton with social media. We do a little bit, but not much. We could do more. What you're doing right now, doing this daily lives, like that's something we could be doing. We don't really do masterminds. We don't really do in-person stuff. I don't do any one-on-one coaching. There's a lot of things like you could be doing. And so it's easy as an entrepreneur to think, okay, that person's being successful doing that I should try that. And I heard that people are doing more and more with TikTok, or people are doing more and more with Clubhouse, and I got to jump on that. And it's just like, you can do all those things, but I think one of the things that has helped us be successful is saying, no, like we do this one thing really, really, really well. We're focused on that. Other things that, yeah, we absolutely could be doing, but choosing this is how we're going to best help people. This is the ways that we're going to go about doing that. And really, really, really simple, like running a very simple business has been one of the best things for any success that we've had.
Wow. Great answer. Let me ask you then, I'm going to take a different turn again. So tell me about your favorite kind of pizza.
I love Hawaiian pizza. I love,
really?
I love
pineapple.
Throw some pineapple on a pizza. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. So there's this place, we live outside of Nashville. There's a place I've been hooked on the past couple of weeks here. So in fact, as we're recording this, my middle daughter tested positive for COVID last week. She's totally fine. She just lost smell and taste. Both of those are coming back. She hasn't had a fever. We all feel fine. So all that to say, we're on quarantine. So we've been plowing through some pizza lately, and good Hawaiian pizza. I'm game for.
Is there a typical manufacturer? You go with a chain or anything?
Our girls are big fans of Domino's, and I don't mind Domino's. But there's a local place that I try to hit up as much as possible, as much as they'll allow me to.
Well, that's good. That's good. So tell me, in your life, in your practice, in your business, is there a key practice or tactic you keep coming back to daily?
A big thing is really getting clear on what I need to be doing. What are the best things what are the most important things that I should be doing? So especially as the business has grown, we've got a team of about 20 people now that I want to make sure that I'm really, really clear on how I best add value to the business, how I can best lead our team, how I can best lead our company, how I can best serve and support our leadership team and our directors. So yeah, it's a lot of that. It's just really thinking through how can I best add value here, hiring really, really good people, letting them do their thing, staying out of their way, but providing support as needed. And so I think that's been a big key thing of learning to do, especially in the past year or so as the company has grown.
Wow, 20 people. So how many did you start with?
Me. I think it's important. Like every speaker, every entrepreneur, anybody you look up to, you admire, you respect in business or anything, like everybody starts from zero. Everybody starts from scratch. Any speaker that you look up to that you think, I can never be as good as them or do as many gigs as they do. Like there's a time where they had none gigs and then they did a gig. Like everybody starts from zero. And so, again, and the other thing I would say, just zooming out, is any entrepreneur that you look at, every entrepreneur they're just doing their best. Like I'm no different. I am making it up as I go, doing the best I can with what I know. And there are days where you just feel like, man, we got this thing figured out. We are good to go. And days you're just like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, So I don't think that's exclusive to just me. I think every entrepreneur feels those same doubts and worries and insecurities. We're all doing our best. And I think one of the hardest, most difficult parts of entrepreneurship is really what happens between your ears. And it's just like the mental side of it, because you have these high highs and these low lows. And again, like you're just trying to like grind through and figuring it out daily of what I should be doing and how I should best be leading, and should we do this versus that. And so entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart, for sure.
So how do you do it? I mean, is there high highs and low lows? I mean, we all experience them, right? But how do you do it? How do you get through those times? Is there journaling? Is there prayer? Is there confidence? And is there different people that you were relying on? I know probably all of those at some sense. But help us understand a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so several things there. So yeah, I'd say one of the big things would be, like you mentioned that at the end there, the people. So there's a couple of guys that I'm really, really tight with that we've been in a mastermind for several years. We talk on a daily basis. We've already texted and talked several times this morning already. And so having other people that are on the journey with you has been really, really helpful. So, there's one of the guys who he just had a key person on his team leave. And so we were talking that through. Okay, here's what you should do. Here's how you should handle this. And hey, let's just talk this through. Let's process this. He and I hopped on a Zoom call yesterday for about an hour just to think it through. And so being an entrepreneur can be very lonely. It can be very isolating, but surrounding yourselves with other people who are on the journey, who can provide that feedback and support. I have a mentor in my life as well. We do a weekly call every Tuesday afternoon. I had the call yesterday and talking shop and him challenging me and pushing me. So I think having those people that are alongside you, people that are ahead of you that can provide that feedback and support is really valuable. I think prayer, journaling, those things matter as well. Now, another thing that I think has been helpful is just longevity. I think that it's really easy for any entrepreneur to do something for a season and be like, this is hard, or this isn't worth it, or again, shiny object, I'm going to go do something different. But I've been self-employed for almost 15 years at this point. And so you see the high highs, you see the low lows. And so when they happen again, it's like, okay, I've seen some iteration or version of this movie before, and I have a good sense of, I thought the world was falling then. It didn't. It worked out. It's okay. And then I thought that other time it was really going to be bad. And then I thought that when the pandemic started, I thought that was it, and it all worked out. So having like gone through it a couple times, been like, okay. I think for me personally, again, because of that, then I don't get too high, I don't get too low, and just know like in the scheme of things are going to work out and balance out.
So it's all going to be okay. Do you have an issue? And so I'm speaking personally here. Do you have an issue with relaying that sense of confidence that you just exhibited to me? Do you have an issue with relaying that to your spouse?
No, not at all. I think, my wife she's a full-time mom. She homeschools our girls. She's been homeschooling pre-pandemic. So she's been homeschooling them for about 7 years. So she has her hands full with the kids. And so she's not involved in the day-to-day of the business. And so there are days or days or weeks where things are stressful and things are difficult for me. And so there are times where I keep that from her, and there are times where I share that with her. But I think, big picture, I think she also, like, what gives me a lot of confidence is her confidence in me. So again, we've been together a long time. She's seen the high highs and the low lows, and she knows like, hey, if you're gonna figure it out. Like whenever you started, when I made the transition from being a youth pastor to starting a speaking business, she's like, I just know you'll figure it out. And when I made the transition from being a full-time speaker to to starting the Speaker Lab, she had the same confidence of just like, I know you're going to figure it out. So her confidence in me gives me a lot of confidence.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to have. I mean, it's very important because I've been doing this now for 4 years, and if I didn't have that confidence that came from my spouse, that would be hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So just having that person that believes in you, that supports you, I can get, emails or comments or whatever from people that are like, hey, the business has really helped me, or sorry, I read your book and it helped me, or your podcast helped me, or whatever, which all those things are great. But having like a spouse who just says, I believe in you, I support you, what you're doing matters, I love you, like that stuff, like, whew, boy, that's a game changer for sure.
Yeah. So tell me, what's your next level of success look like?
Well, I think a couple things. One would be going back to what we were talking about earlier, that we're all making it up as we go. We're all doing the best we can. And so there's a balance of, fast forwarding in your mind as we're talking about vision of what the next, couple of years look like, but then also tempering it with recognizing and realizing like we have no idea what the next couple of years look like, and the outside things that we can't control, So if we go back a year ago, the idea of a pandemic shutting the world down seems insane. Like that just seems like something you'd only see in a movie. The idea that coming, and then we're all kind of thinking like, yeah, this will be here and gone in a couple of weeks, and here we are, early 2021, still, hopefully coming out the other side of this, but still kind of dealing with it nonetheless, dealing with it in my own household. It's just weird, So it's hard to know what the world will look like in a few years. So one thing that I always try to find a balance of is what's the balance of being driven and motivated, and at the same time being content, of recognizing. And I don't know that you can't have one and not have the other. I think you can have both. Like I'm a very motivated, driven person, but at the same time, I look around and like, man, things are like really, really good. Like I'm really incredibly grateful for my family, for our business, for the people we're able to help, the people that are on our team. Just there's an incredible amount to be thankful and grateful for. So what the next couple of years look like, I think there's still, like, again, no shortage of people who are interested in speaking and want to be speakers and have a message to share and just don't know what they don't know and don't know how to do it. And so I think there's plenty of opportunity for us to continue to serve and support speakers at all different levels.
So that's how you've been able to keep those 20 people engaged, because there's so many speakers, so many people out there that still want to speak for a living. They want to be able to do what we do, and to help other people in any sort of way. So
yeah, I would say like the nice thing about the speaking industry just as a whole is the speaking industry has been around, for generations. It's been around, if you go all the way back to the Greeks and having a person standing in front of another group of human beings sharing something, that's been around for thousands of years. And so it's an industry that has a lot of longevity, has a lot of track record. It's survived depressions, recessions, 9/11, wars. It's been around for a long time. It will be around for a long time. It may look different in some ways and same in other ways, but there's always going to be people who, I have a message I want to share. How do I do that? How do I get in front of a group of people, whether that's virtually now or doing it in person? And there's just, again, no shortage of people who have that message that they want to share and just need help knowing how to do it.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, it's a great vision. So I mean, it's a great vision for other people to have as well. I think so. I think that's important. But I'm gonna wonder. There's always two sides to the story, but there's also blind spots that crop up, and so we all have blind spots. We all have blindness in our lives. So what happens for you when you have a blind spot? Do you have truth tellers in your life to help you? And yes, most people will say, it's my spouse, but in some cases in the business, it's not always going to be your spouse. So,
yeah, I would say the two groups that I mentioned earlier, one is going to be this mastermind that I'm really tight with. So this group of guys that I, again, talk with on a daily basis. We hang out in person multiple times a year. They know me as well as anyone. If something horrible were to happen, like they were going to be the first people that I'd go to talk to get advice from and wisdom and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, if there's something that's off or just a blind spot or something that I'm missing, personally or professionally, those guys are really good at not only seeing it, but having the freedom to be able to share that and the authority to be able to share that with me, and knowing that they're doing it from a place of love and people that guys that I know and trust. And the other thing I would say would be, this coach and mentor that I work with on a weekly basis, and I'm talking with regularly, of those same type of blind spots. He made yesterday when we had our weekly call, he had a couple good observations. They're like, hey, have you thought about this? Or, a couple things you said made me think of this. It's like, yeah, I actually never really thought of that. And so getting that outside perspective is really helpful. And I think in a lot of ways, like that's what we do for speakers.
That's exactly what I was just going to add.
Yeah. Is we use the expression all the time. Like it's hard to read the label from inside the jar. And so when people are this close to their own stuff, they're going like, I want to talk about this. Do people hire speakers to talk about this? Or, I'm interested in talking to this industry. Is that a thing? And so just getting some of that outside validation and direction is really, really helpful for people, especially in the speaking industry.
Yeah, and so that for me, it's been those people that have listened and said, "Hey, that's funny. You need to use
Sure.
that rhymes with an I or whatever it is." I mean, so that's great that you can have people like that. I love the expression that you can't read the label from inside the jar. So
Right.
that's huge. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
I need to write that one down. So let's see. While I'm doing that, you can't read the label from inside the jar. Tell me what you do to recharge.
A couple things. I love spending time with the family. So whether that is, watching, we'll binge watch some TV shows. We're on a Survivor kick right now. We used to watch Survivor, it came out like in 2001. And so I remember my wife and I watched early on then the first couple of seasons, hadn't watched in years and years and years. And for some reason we got on a Survivor kick a couple weeks ago. So the family, we've been going through Survivor seasons. So, watching shows with the family, hanging out with the family. We like to travel. I do a walk every single morning. Regardless of the temperature, me and the dog go for a walk through the neighborhood for a couple miles, and it gives me a chance to just kind of rejuice, recharge. I love playing golf, love reading. So yeah, I think there's a variety of different things there. I love what I do with the business, but I'm a human being, not a human doing, and so having those times to plug in and recharge is certainly necessary for longevity and just overall health and well-being.
Yeah, well, that's great. Tell me a little bit, and we've got about 4 minutes left here. But tell me a little bit about your morning routine. Obviously, you walk the dog, and I see that, and it makes a lot of sense. So getting out and doing things is important. What else do you do in the morning?
Yeah, I'll walk you through this morning. So I usually get up, anywhere from 6:30 or so. I usually don't set an alarm unless I've got somewhere to be. And so, the dog is usually waking me up and, hey, it's time to go. So this morning it was close, 28 degrees out. So you layer up, put on a podcast. Yeah. Put on a podcast, go for a walk through the neighborhood, come back. Kids are usually just kind of getting up and stirring, and so go spend a couple minutes with them. And then I spent a couple minutes in prayer and reading my Bible. There's a devotional I read, so do that. Then I spend some other time reading, and then I start to kind of dig into the day. So I usually spend about an hour or so between reading, praying, thinking. And before I get into any task or things that I need to be doing for the day, whether that's responding to Slack messages or making sure the team has what they need, or emails or that sort of thing. But yeah, it's been that first hour or hour and a half or so, just processing, thinking, and preparing for the day. You
mentioned podcasts. What podcasts do you listen to?
Kind of depends. So various ones. There's some different, just for fun. There's a golf one I listened to this morning. The other one that I listened to a Tim Ferriss one this morning, and then some different investing ones that I listen to from time to time. Some different business ones that I'll listen to. How I Built This is a good one with Guy Raz. I like that one.
Guy Raz.
Yeah, Noah Kagan has a good podcast I'll listen to from time to time. Yeah, so it kind of depends, what, if there's I don't know, probably 20 something that I subscribe to, and probably like most podcast listeners, you pull up an episode and kind of skim it and see like, is this particular episode intriguing, and yay or nay, or you'll find someone that, hey, I just found this new show and I kind of go on a binge with that and listen to a bunch of them. So yeah, kind of depends on the day, but I love podcast listening, and so I don't usually listen to podcasts like during the course of the day, and I would usually only listen to it if I was ever driving somewhere. And so I work from home, and like I said, my daughters are here, my family's here, so I don't drive a lot just in general. And so I was like, I got more podcasts I want to listen to. So my walk time in the morning is a good chance to catch up on podcasts.
Awesome. When you journal, what do you journal about?
It kind of depends. There's a book I've started reading. It was recommended to me by a friend. Let me grab it here. Called The Road Less Stupid. The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And so it's got some really good prompts at the end of each chapter about writing. And so I've done some of that stuff. This coach that I work with, a lot of times he'll give me some kind of homework assignments of, hey, I want you to think through these, 2 or 3 or 4 questions. So yesterday he gave me a couple questions to think through. So I'll sit down and write those out. and writing. I think writing help. I don't consider myself a great writer, but I find writing just brings clarity of thought and just gets it out and forces you to really think through and evaluate things. So writing's just a good exercise in general.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I got to tell you that you've delivered so much today, and I truly appreciate you being on.
Cool. You bet.
Thank you for your time. If I were to leave the listeners and the audience that's on and listening and replay, what would I leave them with from you?
Yeah. So one thing that is really important to me, I tell our team all the time, I've talked about this from stage as a speaker, is that who you are is more important than what you do. Who you are is more important than what you do. Meaning that, if you and I, if we are great, if we're great speakers, if we're great authors, if we're great entrepreneurs, if we're great fill in the blank, but we've dropped the ball as husbands, as fathers, as moms, as dads, as if we're the shell of a human being, like we've missed the boat. So I love being a speaker. I love being an entrepreneur. I love helping other speakers, but my most important responsibilities are to my wife and my daughters. Like I got one shot at that. And my wife picked me, or was tricked into picking me. My daughters didn't have a vote. They just came out and like, okay, so you're my dad. Got it. And so those roles are really, really a big deal to me and really important to me. So for anybody, there's nothing wrong with being motivated and driven and wanting to be successful in your career. But at the same time, remember that who you are as a human is way more important than anything you do. Don't
lose sight of who you are.
Very much.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being on. I'm going to send you back to the green room, and I'm going to close the show out.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thanks, Grant. Wow. What another great show. I love it. Oh, my gosh. Wow. So understanding his vision and how important it is to make sure his core beliefs, his core values, his core strengths are in line with his vision. Boom. So important. So thank you so much for being on today. We've got a great show lined up for you for tomorrow. It's me. I'm going to be delivering my speech and talking a little bit more about my vision and talking about my blind spots and talking about some of the things that are going on with my health issues, and how my delays in my speech are not going to stop me from doing what I'm going to do. So that's tomorrow. Thursday, tomorrow's Wednesday. No, tomorrow's Thursday. Friday, we have Mary Kelly coming on, and oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to having Mary Kelly come on. So look forward to that. And then next week is a good week. So stick around. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being on. And as always, let's see if I can find my mouse. As always, keep one eye